We have Daniel Frankel joining us this afternoon from Tap and Barrel Restaurant. He'll be joining us momentarily. Just watch for him to log on and request to join. And then we'll be talking about the restaurant industry and how it's affected his restaurants as well. So just wait for Tap and Barrel to request to join. Here we go. And we have got you. I think he'll be joining us right now. Hi, Daniel. There you go. Perfect.
Hey, Richard, how you doing?
Hey, good. Thanks.
Good, great. Thanks for having me
Yeah,
today.
you're welcome. So a few weeks ago, you were on, actually it was about a month ago now, you were on the panel with for Dr. Henry. You were on the Restaurant Association panel and recommendations of what was going to become of the restaurant industry post, or actually during COVID, I guess, the reopening. So now it's been a few weeks. You guys have reopened. A lot of other restaurants have. How do you feel like the ideas that you put forth, you and the other restaurateurs put forth, if that in that plan have come to be? Has everything worked out in your favor, or kind of give us an outcome of that?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's slowly coming together. I mean, truthfully, we opened sooner than I had anticipated. I mean, I sort of thought worst to worst, how long are we going to have to bear through this? So I was very happy that Dr. Henry allowed restaurants to open, when she did, and I think she has been doing a great job across the board. We're very lucky in BC. Not all the recommendations that we made on that panel came together, and we're still hoping for some relaxation. Ian Tostenson from the BC RFA did an unbelievable job supporting our industry and pushing it through. And continues to do so with things like wholesale liquor pricing, which is forthcoming, but which towards the end of July that'll come into effect. But I mean, I think the single best change was about a week ago when the 50% capacity was eliminated. There's no restriction now. You can't surpass your existing capacities, but you can at least try to achieve as close to 100% as possible if you have the room to do so. And obviously nobody can do that indoors because that's physical change. So we're kind of capped at about 35% interior. But at least on our patios, we have the ability to go to our landlords, go to the city, go to the liquor board and say, hey, can we stretch our footprint and at least try to get as close to 100% as possible? And that's what we're working on right now. That's our number one objective right now, is to just try to get our capacities up.
So for you, you're fortunate. You have a large patios in most of your locations. You're able to do that. A lot of these small restaurants aren't able to do that. And I've seen this during the week. I've been in a lot of restaurants this week and so looking at how are they actually doing it. And one restaurant in Coquitlam last night told me we're at 50% because we can't go any further. We've got a few tables outside that they've got now they haven't had before. So they're like, we look at 2 meters between the tables. We can't do it. So what do you think is going to happen for these smaller restaurants that can't achieve this 100% or can't achieve 80%, like the larger restaurants that have large properties are able to do?
I mean, from my calculations, unless you can reach 60 to 65% of your capacities, pre-COVID capacities, like actual occupancy, I don't see how any restaurant can turn a profit. I know that our break-even point, I mean, we're hitting about 40 to 45% right now as it stands, and our break-even point is about 65. So it's costing us more money to be open right now than it was just to keep our businesses closed. So I feel to answer your question, I feel for anybody, us inclusive right now, but anybody that can't break through that 60, 65 point threshold, which varies, it's a really difficult time right now. And I have nothing but a great deal of sympathy for anybody in this space.
So everybody had different ideas of how long it was going to take for people to become comfortable again in dining out. So I thought it would probably take about 3 or 4 weeks before people felt comfortable in dining out. And now people have been out there. Do you think the percentage of people that actually have come back dining out matches your expectations, or do you think it's going to take a little bit longer?
I think it's taking longer than I thought it would. Um, and if there's one person in the party that's uncomfortable, the no vote is always the strong vote, right?
Right, of course.
And I've seen that with friends of mine, and I have to be mindful of the sensitivity and respect those decisions. Sometimes I feel like saying, "Come on, it's safe." The measures we are taking, by we, not only us, but I would hope all the industry, certainly the precautions that have been laid out in the plan. It's safe to dine out, and unfortunately, I think the biggest uphill battle right now continues to be consumer confidence, and that's something that I think will take time. I was talking to a friend of mine this morning. She's in Shanghai, and she said it's completely back to normal there now, which
Oh,
is
okay, that's interesting.
really, yeah. She said restaurants are like bars are 3, 4 people deep, and
Hmm.
there's no more distancing, and they're still wearing masks on the streets, not indoors. Sorry, not on the streets, but indoors. But anyways, that was promising. I mean, I'm trying to keep in touch with as many of my international friends as possible, just to gauge, certainly ones that are a few months ahead of us, just to gauge where they're at. And I'm hoping that consumer confidence will build up. But I think we also need a little more encouragement from the province and from the cities and from the governments to just encourage people to go out and explore their
So
towns.
I haven't been in your restaurants lately, so I don't know how you're doing it, but I've seen different things in different restaurants. Some people have these masks that are like nice, cool black masks that cover your face. Some people have these ones that are disposable. And then others have these kind of plexiglass kind of shields. So one
Yeah.
restaurant I was in last weekend said they were wearing, all the hosts, managers were wearing these shields so they could actually see people, which was key because you don't want to go to a restaurant where you can't see them. And then the servers were wearing these masks that covered their face. They were wearing gloves. It was all really good, except for you really had no idea who your server was. So it depends. Everybody's perception is different, right? So how are you feeling like people that are coming into your restaurants? How are you guys masking up your staff?
Our staff are wearing cloth masks. The shields, by the way, are only effective if you have a mask underneath them,
Okay.
because
No.
it's just a piece of plastic that ends here. So any contaminant will go right through. So the shields are very important. We feel in the dish pits, in the dish areas, just because that's the single most dangerous part in our restaurant. All the dirty plates come back there, and that's sort of the biohazard sphere, if you will. So but if you do wear the shields, you do also have to wear the masks as well.
Okay, that's good to know. So
Otherwise,
is that a mandate? Is that all on your
no.
rules?
No, none of this is a mandate, by the way. Nobody's mandated to wear shields or masks or gloves. None of that is mandated. A lot of restaurants have opted to wear masks and or shields, and many have decided not to. We have all our management staff, kitchen, back of house wearing. We just have very simple black cloth reusable masks that they can wash at the end of the day. And that's the other thing, is it's important that they do get washed.
So I imagine the whole plexiglassing of your restaurant, it's very expensive to do this whole procedure, and you ordered a lot for all of your restaurants. I mean, COVID, this whole thing may last a year. It may last until next spring. After that, and hopefully there's a vaccine and everything comes back to normal, is that something that you see like you will remove these plexiglass things, or do you think this is going to be, the plexiglass separation will be with us for a while?
Well, I mean, plexiglass doesn't last that long. That's the problem. So, and it cracks and it yellows, especially when you clean it. So, for example, at our convention, at Tap and Barrel Convention Center, it's not done yet. We're waiting for the glass, but we've actually done it there with real glass, with safety glass. So where our booths are in the very back, our horseshoe booths, we had a friend of mine, Blake, who is a metal artist. he made proper steel posts, and he installed them. They're all in the booths now. We're literally just waiting 2 weeks to get the glass installed. So unfortunately, we can't use that area until we get that installed. So there's also a backlog. There's a backlog of plexi. There's at Brew Hall, which is our brewery on Second Avenue. We invested substantially in plexiglass, but it's helping people feel comfortable. We have it as bar separation between guests at the bar and in front of the bartenders as well, with enough room on both sides so they can reach around and give you a glass, a beverage or serve your food. And we also have the separations in our communal tables, so that instead of having one group, you can have two groups. And it's important that restaurants follow those. Plexi dividers do have very specific regulations as far as height and how far behind your head it comes, and so it's important to follow those. But I don't see it sticking around. But the reason why we did it at a convention center is because between booths, if we might as well make it permanently. It also adds acoustical separation, so there's other benefits. So where we can do it permanently, great. But I mean, as far as plexi separating people at bars, I mean, it's quite counterintuitive to what hospitality is, right? Hospitality is that proverbial hug. It's us welcoming somebody in our home, and you don't stand behind plexi and serve your guests at home. So I really hope it's not here to stay, and I don't think it's here to stay. And we are a gregarious beast by nature that seek affection and hugs. So let's hope that we get back to our humanity.
Going back a few months when this all happened and everybody was caught off guard, including all the restaurants. Now, with you have large restaurants, lots of staff. You had to lay off a lot of staff. What was running through your mind back then? How were you feeling? How are you personally taking it?
Well, you struck an emotional chord, because the single most difficult decision that I've ever had to make that's come across my desk was letting go of. We let go of 600 people. Wow. When this came to be, and I mean, I can't tell you how difficult that was. I mean, I sleep pretty well, but I mean, I lost a lot of sleep over that. And when you fuck around with people, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that word.
They just heard you.
When you mess around with people's livelihoods, it's really it's a sensitive issue, and so we tried to be as supportive as possible. We helped everybody navigate through the problems. We maintained communication. We really ramped up our communication level, and my team, our leadership team, I mean, they did such a great job staying connected to people and making sure that we knew that everybody was okay and safe, and in a good headspace. So, but that was, you're right. That was really, really tough. There's no easy way dealing with that one.
So currently, what I'm seeing and hearing around the city is that a lot of office workers, which would normally be downtown Vancouver, are still working from home out in the suburbs or outside of other areas outside of downtown. And downtown, in particular, it's very quiet. A lot of restaurateurs are complaining, or I'm seeing it on Twitter and Instagram or whatever, that there's no one around. And like some office buildings are 10% of what they normally are. So for all those restaurants, and you have one downtown as well, how do you think restaurants are going to need to get through this? There's no tourists. There's obviously the office workers is low, and now we just start summer vacation. What can they do to make their business survive?
I don't know what they can do, Richard. I don't have the answer. I mean, downtown restaurants, you're right. Our convention center location is down 75%. We only climbed back 25 points, and again, I remind you that we need 65 to break even. There are no cruise ships or tourists, such as hotels, etc. There's no conferences, which we are right at the convention center. So the conventions, conferences bring in a ton of people. There are no offices, which bring your lunch crowd, which bring your happy hour crowd, who book out your private spaces for corporate events, and then even the residents that live certainly in the Cole Harbour area where we are. A lot of the Cole Harbour residents, have a home on the island or Whistler or somewhere else, and they're gone too. It doesn't seem like there are any residents there because it is literally absolutely dead downtown. Like, normally you can't find a meter. And whenever I go down to our convention center location, I can park anywhere. I mean, it's just there's nobody down there. So I'm hoping that now that school is out, that the city, and I know the convention center has been proactive in looking at animation and activation events. Also, our landlord PCI Developments have been very aggressive in looking at programming, whether it's outdoor sports, outdoor cinema series. I'm talking spectator, not like putting a screen up. Doing some socially distanced yoga in Jack Pool Plaza. There's a bunch of things that are in discussions right now, and I think it'll take some pull. Like next Wednesday is Canada Day, and there's no fireworks. I mean, usually Canada Day is our busiest day. There are 400,000 people coming into downtown, and to go from 400,000 to 4 people. We're lucky if we get 4 people next Wednesday. So I don't really have the answer, but I think we definitely need to push the city and even certain landlords like we have been working with ours on plans to animate and activate open areas, music, concerts. There will be more traveling internally now that school's out.
Yeah, and this is actually the case in downtown Vancouver, Gastown, and Chinatown. You're all having the similar issues. Everywhere else is not experiencing this, actually. So up on Main Street and Fraser, restaurants are really busy. And I don't know about the drive. The drive is partial to that, but out in the suburbs, restaurants are really busy. So it's kind of an interesting thing that's happened. But about music. So you love music, and a couple of weeks ago, you and Sean Heather decided to record a song together. And I caught it on Instagram, of course, and it was great. And it was great to see you guys doing something different that isn't actually running your restaurant. So have you always been interested in music and playing your guitar?
Well, I'm just trying to explore alternative career choices right now. And, it's probably better off being a starving artist than a starving restaurateur. That dichotomy is just a little too stark.
So how did that come about, that song that you guys did together?
I posted a song that I had played, and then Sean reached out to me and said, "Hey, buddy, we should do a song together. How about Imagine?" And sorry, no, it wasn't Imagine. It was Imagine, right? Yeah, it was Imagine. Sorry, I've been singing so many songs lately. I was in a band in high school. I was more of a heavy metal guitarist back then, and I put my guitar down. I guess one of the silver linings of COVID is it got me to pick up my guitar. In fact, I've got one here in my office. I can pull it out and sing for you. But
there you go.
We should have planned that. Yeah. I've been really enjoying playing guitar, and I've actually done a few socially distanced songs with a few people. That's the only one I popped up there. But it just seemed fitting. I know Sean loves to sing, and it was really fun to focus on something other than trying to keep our heads above water.
And also art. I remember years ago, I interviewed you 10 years ago, and you're telling me about that you used to paint. And I don't know if you still paint, but you loved art, and you have quite the art collection in your restaurant. So that's a great therapy, I think, for what you're having to deal with right now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, good memory, Richard. I can't believe you remember that. I do, and I actually did pick up painting again, over the COVID, over the most difficult part of COVID. So, yeah, I'm definitely getting back to painting, and I've got a few canvases back there, but they're turned around. They're not ready to be seen yet.
That's funny. You could have an art auction in your restaurant to get people down there.
Well, one of the things I really get the most joy out of is putting together these spaces. As you know, we've talked about this before, and designing the experience. And art is such a big part of that. I mean, it's a completely integrated experience. But working with local BC artists um, on their works to help create that energy and that vibe for our spaces, and giving me the opportunity to collect art through my
Mhm.
business is something I get incredible amount of joy out of. So that's part of the job that I really love.
So a little while ago, because right after the whole COVID thing happened, you guys created some meal kits. A lot of restaurants created meal kits, and you had some fun ones. So you had the Tap and Barrel, you had the Brew Hall. I tried a couple of them. I really liked the pizza one. I thought the Tap and Barrel pizza I thought was a lot of fun. It created a lot of energy. People like to watch it. Then people like to make do their own date night, fun night, creating pizzas. Was that successful for you? And are you still selling meal kits?
So yeah, it was very successful from certainly from an optics and from an enjoyment standpoint. Everybody really loved them. It's incredible how much traction our cookies have gotten, and people still come and dine in the restaurants, and then they take the cookie pack to go. It's just 6 of the best cookies you'll ever have, and all you have to do is go home and throw them in the oven for 10 minutes, and they're unbelievable. It's my favorite way to bake because there's no work. But I mean, as was it successful from a financial standpoint?
Right.
That's if that's
Right.
the question, no, I mean, it's too tight. The margins are too tight. Like it's very difficult for us to put the burger kits or the
Mm.
pizza kits and actually, when you look at the price of the item when we actually cook it ourselves and and deliver it to your table, then there's enough margin to make a profit. And even then, our margins are tight. I mean, that's one of the things that COVID has really shone a light on is the fact that our business model is flawed. I
Mhm.
mean,
Right.
if we're closed for 3 months, we're going bankrupt. And I mean, that's not right. I mean, it's been a race to the bottom. Who can lower their prices and get the next customer or reduce their happy hour. And I mean, price points have to go up for our business to actually be sustainable. So, I mean, the meal kits, I love them and I still do them. And we're going to continue to do them because they have received so much traction. Everybody loves the take and make, but there's no money in it.
Hmm. So, okay, so I've already seen prices go up. Some restaurateurs are like taking COVID, they're using it to their advantage. Like, let's increase our prices right now so that by the time this is over with, we're back up making some profit margins. But I think there's a point of how much will people pay in Vancouver, especially for that burger or that pizza or whatever it is. So, where do you think the ceiling is what people would actually pay for something here?
I don't know what the ceiling is, but if you look at price points from '99, early 2000s, and you fast forward 20 years, our prices have not even kept up with inflation,
Mhm.
let alone with the rise of costs from labor to I mean to products to logistics, transportation, energy costs. So in early 2000s, you can at a premium casual restaurant you could get a burger for 14.50, 14.95, and today it might be 16.95 at a premium casual, or 17.95 if it has cheese and bacon on it, let's say. Um, but that if you look at any other consumer category increases, they are substantially more. And it's a difficult it's an interesting question. It's a difficult model to keep up with because there's a lot of competition and everybody keeps trying to really race for the bottom. So I do agree that restaurants have to look at prices. I mean, you got to look at both. You got to look at the costs, which have been rising, and cost management, and you got to look at labor management. There's definitely going to be some serious labor implications right now, and that all involves your service model. How much labor's on? Do you go to fast casual? Do you go to a self-service model? And I mean, really, I don't know what the consumer is willing to bear, but I mean, I think there easily has to be 15 to 20% increases imminently just for our industry to be able to sustain itself. Um, so yeah, that's all I can really offer.
So with the liquor, this liquor change that's just happened, it's going to affect you guys. So I'm sure for you, you sell a lot of liquor, right? A lot of beer, a lot of all that kind of stuff. So where does the wholesale thing, this wholesale restaurant prices, like how will it affect you? Because with Brew Hall, you're making beer, you're selling beer,
Yeah.
but are you buying it from yourself? Like how does that work? Do you buy it from the liquor board? Do you buy it from yourself when a discount comes into play?
When you manufacture, you're always buying liquor from the province, from the liquor board. Even if you manufacture your own booze, you're selling it to them before it's even ready to be made. There's an excise tax. You've already paid the taxes. You're already, even if you give beer, even if I give away free beer, I have to pay the taxes on it. I mean, I've already paid for the product, and then I have to sell it back to myself. And in many occasions, you're actually selling that product 3 or 4 times before it hits the consumer. So
Wow.
there's a lot of different hands of taxation there. So I don't have all the details, and I believe it's the 21st of July that comes into effect, and it's great. It's I think we're the last province that's still on prohibition style laws from 100 years ago. It would be nice to see it. The wholesale pricing is really it's amazing, and I'm not criticizing it, but it's about 15 to 20 points off.
Right.
Which is not massive, but it helps, and every bit does help. So I'm extremely grateful for that, and all the efforts that all the advocates did to get us there. We are. Our liquor sales are substantial, and it'll certainly help with the margins. But most restaurants probably sell 25 booze to 75 food. We're about 40 booze to 60. We still sell more food than we do booze. We sell about 60% food to 40% booze, and we're lucky to have that extra booze sale. But most I would say are kind of 25-75 or 30-70, and the food cost side is exponentially going up right now. So is that going to offset what we're seeing in the rise of beef, for example? All food is going up right now due to COVID. There's been many factories shut down. There's been logistical problems. Restaurants have had to change their procurement. So I don't think it'll quite offset the extra loss on the food side. So it's a bit of a balancing act right now.
And it must be an issue with the whole USA situation, right? With the COVID cases being so high in the US and our border closed pretty much. Products, and if you're importing food products or anything from the States, that's going to become tricky because obviously their situation is far worse than ours, right?
Terrible.
So is that something you have to look at, or you do look at buying mostly local?
I mean, you can't. It depends. Like, it depends on your size, right? We can't. I mean, our volumes in our restaurants are too big to just buy local. We buy all our beer is exclusive local. All our wine is exclusive local. We only sell BC product. We get local mushrooms. We get local chicken from Rossdown Farms. We get Alberta beef. So most of our stuff does come from local. But then when you jump into the produce, there are no avocados locally. You can't get consistent produce locally. You got to go down south of the border to either California or to Mexico. And then, so it really depends on the seasonality of items. We always try to reduce our carbon footprint as much as we can while maintaining a level of supply chain consistency. So it's a continual balancing act, and we got a great guy who runs our procurement, and that's his big focus is, how much can we buy local while making sure that we're not 86th on, and for those that don't know, 86 just means you're out of a product, making sure that we're not 86th of an item all the time. So it's really a balancing act, and right now it's more than ever a balancing act because so many of our suppliers just can't supply the core items that so restaurants have been forced to shift their menus, which is also costly.
So I noticed that last night. I was dining in a restaurant and they had a COVID menu, and I was like, why can't you just offer the same menu you normally have? And they said that's exactly the problem. They're having trouble getting certain items, so they've had to shift the menu just so that it's got people coming in. They can have their favorites, but they just can't have everything. So that's kind of what you're talking about, right?
You got it. Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenging time right now to keep a consistent menu.
So for your staff, so you were just talking about these percentage of people dining in the restaurant and what your break-even point is. So staff that were making tips on, let's say previously you had a 100% full restaurant in North Vancouver, you had a lineup out the door, and your staff were making great tips. What happens now? So if the restaurant is having trouble bringing X number of people in, what happens with the staff? Like, are they able to make the same money, or they're just not able to do that right now?
I guess at the end of the day, it really depends on what you put together as your server section sizes. We have a lot of trainees. Like the SERV program. The detriment of the SERV program is that a lot of people don't want to come back to work.
Right.
There are a lot of people that just don't want to come back. So we've had to hire new and train. We didn't get everybody back. We tried. We offered everybody their job back. So now it's also an expense to bring new people on board because training costs are high, and we invest a lot in our training. So a lot of time you'll have a server and you'll have a trainee shadow them, and that just doubles your labor right there for the few weeks that they have to shadow before they get their own section, and then they start with a small table section, like 2 tables, and then they'll grow it 3, 4, and eventually get to 5. Maximum 6 with us. So yeah, right now that service model has to be looked at very carefully, and we're keeping our finger on the pulse there because we can't afford a ballooning labor cost right now. But really, to answer your question, it really depends on the section sizes, and the tip pools are not pools rather, but the tips are. I mean, that's something that is managed and really really controlled by the staff. So I think there's been a level of sympathy that okay, I can only speak for myself. I don't actually have the data because we don't really look at that. We let our servers do whatever they do with their tips, and but I know that when I go out and dine right now. I feel like I've always been quite generous, and I certainly try to be. Certainly, being in hospitality, you're cognizant of that. But now I am more sympathetic, to the fact I haven't dined out for a long time. I'm also poorer than I've ever been right now. But when I do go out, I make sure that I leave a big tip, and I feel that that's most of my friends and my colleagues that I talk to. Are of the same mindset. So, I don't know what the answer is. I haven't actually spoken to our servers about that, and I'm certainly hopeful that they're being tipped generously.
So patios, back to patios. So patios a little tricky, especially when we have weather like this. So this is a little bit of an unusual year. We're starting off quite wet June. It's still like even today's forecast is weird. So when we have weather like this and you have a patio that, let's say, doesn't have an umbrella outside, all right? Do people want to sit outside on the patio when it's raining? I did that last year at one of your restaurants, but that was different. So this year, people are going to, if they're going to come, they'll say, I want to eat outside. Some people want to eat inside. It depends, right? But what happens in this case? Like, do you expect that everyone will have umbrellas and people will sit outside in the rain, or do you think that's going to be the weather factors at detriment?
No, the weather absolutely controls the volumes, always. Nobody likes sitting in the rain. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have a covered patio, better yet with sidewalls that can shelter you from the elements, heat lamps, then great. But I mean, most of our patios are exposed and out there, and I love that about them. Like, I love that, you really get this beautiful British Columbia experience. And we're so fortunate to have such beautiful waterfront locations throughout the city of Vancouver and North Van, where you can really enjoy the outdoors. But that's the detriment when it does come down, when it sprinkles or even if it's a light drizzle. And our interiors, I will stress, are safe. We've taken every precaution we can to make them. I mean, the health and safety of first and foremost our staff and and of course our guests is the most important priority right now. But there are a lot of guests out there that are just not comfortable dining indoors still. That they will come and specifically say, no, I'll only dine outside.
Right.
So we have to see that shift there. We have to see the shift in confidence and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And we're working really hard to build that trust right now.
So last question for you. Can people obtain a reservation at your restaurant for a patio seat as opposed to dining in?
Well, we take reservations now. Generally, historically, we haven't taken patio reservations only because you don't know if the weather is going to be there.
Right,
so we do take reservations, but we don't. With the reservations, we don't specify that it might be in interior.
right.
If patio's open and it's available, then we'll certainly we'll certainly provide a patio seat. And yeah, right now we're taking reservations. In fact, we're encouraging reservations because it's so much easier for us to control the flow of the restaurants. So I know historically at Tap and Barrel, we've limited the amount of reservations because we were so fortunate just to have the flow of walk-ins, and we always wanted our regulars and our walk-in guests to be able to get a table. So we did restrict open table a little bit, but now, if you go to our website and click on reservations, we've opened it right up just to make it easier for our guests to make a reservation. And even at Brew Hall, where, it was always a fast casual concept. Like, you don't need a reservation. You come in, you order at the bar, you sit down. We are at full service now. We shifted our service model because we can't have people walking around, they need to be contained or have a seat. So even at Brew Hall right now, we are taking reservations. You can go to brewhall.com and put your name on the wait list if you're coming down in 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, or you can choose a time and make a reservation.
That's
And
great.
our regulars are loving that.
That's great to hear. So that's positive for people. So everybody should go down and book at your restaurants for sure.
100%. Yes.
Is that the same for Bridges as well?
Yeah, same for Bridges. Yeah, it's on the website as well, and we link it on our website, but it's we use Open Table.
Okay, well, great. So thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. And for anybody who missed the session, you can you'll see it on my IGTV, Instagram a little bit later this afternoon.
Richard, thank you so much. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate you've always been so supportive of the industry, and a longtime friend of mine. So, and a real mensch. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good summer.
All right, my friend. You too. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Ciao.
We'll grab a beer soon.